This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
All right, another week. I think we're all ready for a weekend, maybe. A little deep breath, a little let's do some mental cleansing of things other than what we've been consuming. I think that's on tap for many of us. But this morning, today, wherever you're watching us, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent and former chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, joining us. We're going to go over the latest of what we know in the Charlie Kirk assassination as we try and examine this and get to the root of what happened here. How did this man, this young boy, if you will, 22 years old, decide in the course of a week to take the action that he did and have crazy ripple effects around our planet with that one horrible decision? Robin, you spent obviously years inside the Bureau studying how people think, act, and radicalize. And today we're talking about not necessarily an international terrorist, but somebody's kid right here in the United States that went off and did something absolutely horrible. I'm just going to start here because you've been all over the place on this week, talking about every different angle. As we wrap up the week, what's the biggest thing that stood out to you that you've learned that you're trying to wrap your mind around?
Boy, and you really hit it right at the beginning, Tony. This was a shot that was heard around the world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. One shot, and it's been really impacting so many of us. And a good mental cleansing is definitely needed for us all to get some healthy thoughts going again. I'll tell you, the thing I've been working on throughout the week mostly, I guess, I think we all are, and I think it's one of the reasons why it was so impactful for so many. It was, the violence of it, the victim, as well as, what made an otherwise healthy-looking 22-year-old do something so heinous? What was the path down this dark triad to oblivion, really, that sparked all this? And so it was really taking a deeper dive on. I don't like chasing things as much because I've worked in the world of counterintelligence, and if you're chasing things after they happen, you'll never catch up. These people have long legs and sprinters' legs, and they always keep in front of you. And so I'm always kind of, like you said, reversing it as a behaviorist to see what was the cause of this and where did it start and what can we do at the starting point so we can do what I call a pincer attack. We can deal with the law enforcement angle and things we can do online to protect ourselves, protect our children, work with algorithms and companies and all those things. And some of what I'm going to suggest here will fall into that. But also, where is the root cause and what can we do at the beginning of this to, again, here's someone before the prefrontal lobes even fully formed at the age of 22 years old, has let his emotions and his groupthink, his self-centered actions. And I want to be very clear on this. This is not the action of a social justice warrior, just like Luigi Mangione isn't. And I don't care who you are and what camp you're in on this. All we need to do is look at history of successful social justice warriors, as I mentioned earlier in the week, whether it's Desmond Tutu, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, all these individuals were social justice warriors, clear messaging, and they had civil discourse. So I looked at this whole thing. Where did civil discourse fall? Where's it fallen out of our system? The Socratic method was introduced by Socrates back in 5 BC. Mm-hmm. And it was a method for engage. I actually looked up all the research on this as well. It's what law enforcement uses when interviewing someone. It's what interviewers like yourself use on radio shows and podcasts. It's what a lot of people use, but for some reason, it falls by the wayside in a lot of places in our society. And that's what, kind of to my point earlier this week, was curiosity died. And the Socratic method of really interrogating and asking what questions and asking, not just dictating our thoughts onto others, but we actually ask them what they think about what we think. Again, it's being questioning, it's being interrogating our thoughts and thoughts of others, and it's what has died. And part of that is that curiosity. And so at some point along the way, he being the shooter, lost the need or want to inquire about his own thoughts about why he believes something. So that's what I've been really wrestling with, is like, what do we do as a society now? Again, I'm not a psychologist or a fixer. I'm the law enforcement guy, behaviorist that says, all right, what's the root cause and what are we going to do about it? And so from what I've seen, because this is different than a Koberger. This is a person that, in my estimation, again, not a psychologist, not born with a broken brain. Mm-hmm. He was born pretty normal in a pretty healthy family. Again, healthy, falling within the parameters of normal behavior, as much as we all do. But somewhere along the way, that brain got twisted, the curiosity died, and then it was not substantially invigorated by the online community. I did research on how many online forums and how many social networking places and how many video games actually utilize the Socratic method of questioning, or are they just promulgating what's right and what's wrong according to their dogma. So it was a really deep dive on all that. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, I mean, and when we jump into all of that, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect video games to be, teaching morals or
it's
bounds
not about morals either.
Yeah, or bounds. But obviously something went horribly wrong here. When we talk about conversation and having discourse with each other and learning and hearing each other, I think it feels like the definition of conversation is not the same for all of us. And I do wonder if that there is a generational change in what that means based on how people have been raised. And I'm not saying just within their families. I'm saying more so within the social structure of our society, of our social media, of everything everybody consumes from birth, basically. I mean, this is a kid. He's 22. I have no idea when he got his first phone, but he's very easily one of those kids who could have had an iPhone in his hand at a very, very, very young age, or a device. And this is, and completely brought up in a world where this is how he consumes information. And an iPhone on its face is not an evil thing. It's the way we consume it and the way that we understand how to do it. But I feel like we've gone into that world with no playbook and our brains aren't equipped to do it. But back to my point about the conversation. Conversation does not mean dictating your thoughts to others and walking away. that feels like how a lot of people view conversation today. It's like, I'm just going to spew my thoughts, and then you're going to spew your thoughts, and we're not going to necessarily go back and forth all that much. We're just going to keep spewing why we're right to each other, and never taking the moment to sit down and say, let's hear you. Let's hear you. Let's think about it. And that seems to be a big missing piece with a lot of folks today.
And Tony, think about it too, that a lot of times the younger people, I'm going to sound really old and I'm going to scream at you to get off my damn lawn in just a minute here, but we don't talk anymore. And we don't sit down at the table and talk. We don't talk on the phone. We use Messenger. We use texting. We don't have this back and forth where I'm seeing the reaction on your face. I'm just taking whatever is printed to me, like in typeface, as your feelings. And a lot of times people don't convey their feelings properly through that medium. So we're missing out on the nuance of actual face-to-face conversation. And I think we're losing that emotional tie to people. We don't see that, wow, my words just hurt you, and feel that empathy. We don't feel that. We just throw something out there and damn it, I'm right, and walk away.
And I want to add this to that too, because I agree. Is this something that's different too, that has been an effect of social media and the way people communicate? Are we isolating generationally more than we ever have before? I mean, it used to be, it seems you would look to folks who are a bit older than you or much older than you for wisdom, for thoughts, for people who've gone through life a little bit. When you're young, you're not going to make good decisions. You're going to make rash choices. You're going to make decisions that you'll end up looking back and going, that was horrible. And normally it doesn't end with executing someone. It's usually much tamer than that. But I feel like there is this isolation with a younger generation that seems to be missing that seems to be missing. Life isn't as horrible as I may think it is. And the voices that used to be, they're the older generations. They're there, but they're not being seeked out, because sometimes it seems that there's a lot of younger generations that just feel very much this is how it is. And then they just get into their echo chambers and they just keep getting the same advice from the same ill-experienced people who don't have any life reps, and they just keep repeating things over and over. There doesn't seem to be that extra voice that comes in and goes, okay, wait a second, I hear what you're, and I'm not saying I hear what this guy was saying in this case. I'm saying just kind of generally when a young person may be struggling as they grow, I hear where you're coming from, I hear where this is difficult for you, but here's how life kind of does play out and things do get better. That seems to be missing quite a bit, I feel like, from a lot of young people. And I don't know the solution. I don't know that it's not being seeked out. I don't know that it's even part of the equation for many people to even think, hey, maybe I should go talk to somebody about this other than just the same people who have the exact same ideas that I do, who they're exact same age as me.
Anecdotally, it seems like it makes sense, and from my own experiences as well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any research or studies on it, but it makes sense. Interestingly, about this entire thing too, this microcosm that people are living in, when we were growing up, we were taught how to fish. Everyone now is just given the fish. And they don't interrogate the information they're provided. I mean, when we were younger, we're saying, hey, if you got to write a paper, so you can go to the library and look it up. And I want at least 5 sources before you can put it down on a piece. I mean, think about that. I don't know how often that is done anymore and how quick and easy it is to get that information. So here's other research I did on this when it comes to interrogating information and questioning, and not questioning like you're right or wrong. Questioning is like, help me understand what I believe so I can understand what you believe. And again, I'm going to not try to repeat that Socratic method so much, but it's really so fitting for here. Now, if you want, I'm going to read the definition of it.
Yeah, sure.
Socratic is, for people that haven't heard of it or just haven't done a deeper dive, it's a form of cooperative argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking, draw out underlying ideas and assumptions, and expose contradictions in one's beliefs. It's developed by ancient Greek philosopher Socrates around 5th century BC, and it's a way to pursue truth through logical inquiry rather than direct instruction or opinions being forced at you. And when I did a study on this, here's another scary thing. This is what schools aren't doing this. There's only one program I could find. Now, granted, individual schools might do this, but there's only one program you could actually buy that it's only used by like 1,000 people across the country, I think, that actually uses a teaching platform for the Socratic method. And this is, I know this is a complaint by many people of our universities, and it's one of the reasons. Again, please put all politics aside. I don't want to hear left or right, Democrat, Republic anymore. This is one thing that Charlie Kirk was trying to do, was to stimulate. Hey, don't keep absorb and regurgitate what you're getting. Be inquisitive about what it is you're getting. Ask that question to stimulate knowledge, which universities used to do and which schools used to do. And this is where, if I'm going back to the root cause of where I think a normally otherwise healthy individual started down this dark triad path, it was this. It really was this. I mean, that definition I just read, when was the last time you encountered someone other than in that does all they can in your areas of media, of taking communication in college, where it's not just regurgitating and being opinion pieces, but literally being reporters and journalists, interrogating information around you, free of an opinion, free being what I always call that non-judgmental active curiosity. That is at the heart of what we're doing. And here's also why this is so important. And it's dumbfounded me that we're not doing it more. Because the last thing I was doing before we came on the air is I was doing the deep research of what happens to our brain chemically when we're actually employing the Socratic method. Yes, that same big four, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, are firing when we are on the path of curiosity and discovery. And so what people are doing when they're falling in these online microcosms is that they're seeking the cheap like hit and validation of a crappy opinion, because it's just an opinion, to try to get that same little stimulation than having a rich conversation. Man, history always has the answers to everything. All you got to do is take 2 seconds to look. And this is how we stimulate ourselves as human beings for thousands of years of evolution before the last couple of years of this. So our brains reward us when we're doing these things. And so I think if we just start hitting this root cause and just re-infiltrating this into society, starting with families, starting with schools, starting with us all. And let go of preaching at people what you think is right or wrong. And I do this all the time in my emails. Tony, I do it with you. I do it with everyone. I always have an opinion of what I think about something. I mean, when we're talking about these cases, you and our text messages going back and forth, before I actually share an opinion of what I think, if I'm not quite sure about what someone else's opinion is, the first thing I'll always do, and because I want to have a civil discourse, I say, hey, what do you think about this? I don't tell you what I think first. I want your thoughts and opinions about it, because then I'm going to know your context, what your perspective is. And then if it's different than mine, I'm curious about, what made you say that, Tony?
Sure.
And then we start getting context, we build, and then 99% of the time, I completely modify my take and assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
Which is rare, and most people don't do that. Most people don't modify anything. They're ingrained. It's carved in. And why would I want to change that? Well, because that's how you grow and learn.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.